My fellow Amberlanders, dear soldiers of our war of independence, I want to salute all of our brave fighters on GZ. I know we've always thanked you for the tremendous job you have been doing and that you deserve. But today I want to pay special thanks to our diasporan community. Without you in the diaspora, there will be no revolution in GZ. Without your continuous support, solidarity with our battered people, your sacrifices on a daily basis through remittances and supporting your families, uplifting the spirit of our fighters, ensuring that our refugees have food, clothing, medication, supporting our IDPs, for mobilizing the international community to bat for us, for taking time off your daily chores to take part in demonstrations, doing deputations with parliaments, councils, making speeches in conferences, universities, and other places. You have been a core of our strive to internationalize our struggle. You've been a pillar of one of the foundations of the triad approach. Liberation is also about exposure. Without exposure, there is no knowledge. Without knowledge about the issues at bar, there is no alteration in policy. And it's thanks to the diaspora, thanks to their tenacity, thanks to their sacrifices, that GZ has gotten a fighting chance. We are one people, divided by circumstances, fighting for one objective: to be free, to be united with our souls, with our families, and to be able to walk the streets of Amberland again one day as a free people. So if we have never really said thank you to the diasporan community, I want to use this occasion to salute your bravery and to thank you for all what you have done to make sure our people have got a shot. And I enjoin you to continuously sacrifice. Don't allow the chanting and banging of disturbances slow you down. I listened to an audio today sent to me by a comrade from England. That audio was done by a certain Dr. G. He talked about the nature of revolutions, that what we observe in our revolution today is symptomatic not only of what we've gone through as a colonized people, but it's a general feature of most revolutions. And so the perceived division, the perceived chaos which you experience is only exacerbated because you are in the social media era. And everybody has a right and opportunity for free speech to sit behind a microphone and cause chaos 6,000 miles away. You must adapt to these realities and stop allowing some of this banging and chanting, the perception of chaos, to rule you. For the past 3 years, you've done what other generations never achieved for more than 50 years. For the past 3 years, you've lifted up our people and given them hope. For the past 3 years, you've mobilized the international community to speak for us, bat for us, legislate for us. For the past 3 years, you've made Amberland ungovernable. You've increased the cost of the occupation. You control more than 80% in a dynamic fashion of your homeland. No other people, more resourced, more armed, have achieved these great strides in such a short period of time. And you've done so because from the beginning of our war of independence, we laid out a strategy, a national liberation plan, conceived based on studies of other revolutions and the nature of the international system and the beast we're dealing with. We made sure we implemented this national liberation plan in a systematic manner as to achieve the maximum result. From fighting on GZ spreading the enemy thin, attacking them on all fronts, engaging in economic sabotage, taking out their colonial officers to delegitimize their political role, for making sure that we uplift our people who every Monday challenge the very nature of the beast that has dealt them a blow for 57 years. We didn't stop there. We made sure Cameroon understand that this is a free country, that the independence declared had to be defended, and that no amount of tanks, no amount of brutality, genocide, bombing of villages, torching of our cities was going to deter this generation to end Cameroon's impunity and rule in our country. This wasn't an accident. It's because we understand how BIA functions. We understand how the international system responds to issues of crisis. Across the globe, there are dozens and dozens, more than 50 conflicts going on. Why would the United Nations Security Council sit and debate a 45,000-mile territory? Why would the United Nations be concerned with the plight of 8 million people when it could deal with millions and millions of Syrians? Why would it step away from the Palestinian conflict that has been going on for more than half a century to think about us? Why should it stay mute for a while on what is going on in Myanmar with the Rohingyas and others to think about Ambazonia? Why should it forget about the issue of Kurdistan, Western Sahara, and think about us? It's because we compelled them through our strategy to become involved. We didn't simply argue that the foundation of our cases is strong, is legal, rooted in historical validity. We made sure that our resistance against tyranny generated certain indicators that will bring them to look into what is going on in Amazonia. My fellow people, I know sometimes you become bewildered. Sometimes, your patience is tested, your resilience tested. Those who have become freed before, from the Americans, the French, the Brits, those who fought against tyranny of Adolf Hitler for 5 years between 1939 and 1945, didn't succeed because they were more powerful than the Germans. They succeeded because they were determined to overcome adversities for self-preservation, to preserve their freedom. The Polish fought in trenches after their country had been taken over by Adolf Hitler. They fought in trenches after they had even been abandoned by their allies. The Norwegians fought. You have Norwegians today celebrated who fought behind Nazi lines to undermine U-boats, submarines of Germans. The bravery of these men and women who were being bombed in London and they were walking in sewages trying to defend the freedom of their country. They didn't succeed because they didn't face adversities. They didn't succeed because they were more powerful than the Germans. They didn't succeed because they didn't have enablers. They succeeded because of their indomitable spirit to stop tyranny. And that's the same spirit I enjoin you to develop. A revolution is very challenging. And sometimes you are bound as a human being to question why you fight. You're bound to question why you fight. Sometimes you are even bound to forget why you fight. You are so much captured in the chaos of the moment that you sometimes forget the beauty of the aftermath of this chaos. Somewhere I read that we all are fighting for independence. Somewhere I read that we all want to be free. Somewhere I read that Ambazonians want a country of their own. And so you look at this big picture. It's about independence, abstract, political configuration. That's what you think you're fighting for. No, you are fighting to build a society where all those who propagate tribalism, propagate hate and division, do not have their way. You're fighting to build a society where you can live in Moyoka and feel an Ambazonian. Develop Moyoka and feel an Ambazonian. That your presence in Moyoka will never be questioned by someone who grew up in Moyoka. You're fighting for a society where you have freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. You're fighting to have a system where you have proper health care, where a woman doesn't die every minute at childbirth. You want to build an educational system that is an asset to the people who pass through it than a liability. A legal system that presumes you're not guilty until you're found guilty by a court of law. That you can, a system where you can never simply be impeached on false premises, never have a trial, but punish. You want to build a country where from the north, south, east, and west, you can feel at home everywhere, where you can have opportunities based on merit, not because of nepotism. You're fighting for a country where you have economic opportunities, where your creative ability can translate into a better life for you, your family, your society, and those beyond our own shores, where your vote counts, where you can choose your leaders and deselect them anytime you want. And that space within which those things can happen will be in a free Ambazonia. So what we call political independence is a container for all of the good things we are fighting for. Fellow Ambazonians, I'll call upon all of you to join me to observe a minute of silence in honor of Nginyam Fon. In honor of Nginyam Fon, murdered in Bui, hate crime propagated by enemies of our war of independence sitting out here. Today I want us to think about him, the peacemaker, the sniper, the warrior who defended his block like a valiant soldier. His life cut short by propagators of hate. His life taken away from him, his family, his friends, his comrades, and from us by tribalists. Let's honor him. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And I want to promise him, all those who conspired to take away his life, it's a matter of time. You've had your day today. It's a matter of time. No matter where you hide, we will find you. We know you. We know where you live. We know what you do. We know how you move. His blood will not be spilled in vain. And for all those whose lives have been cut short by the cartels, the tribal cartels, who have infested our war of independence, the Machiavellians, short-sighted people, enablers from within, who've infested our war of independence. We have fought Cameroon in the trenches, a more powerful system. We will not blink until all of you, the chaos creators, people who feel an entitlement to power, the tribalists, we will not sleep until all of you are bundled out of our war for independence. This is not your war, the war of the Ambazonian people. Fellow Ambazonians, I want to salute all of you, prisoners of war in Kondengi, in Bamenda, in Douala, Bafoussam, across the different jails that have been created by Cameroon to deprive you of your liberty. I want to salute your courage, your bravery, and your tenacity. You have shown that even though your liberty has been taken away from you, your thirst for a free homeland still remains unquenchable. You've shown a lot of bravery that has inspired most of us out here. I want to thank you on behalf of all the Ambazonian people for your sacrifices. I want to promise you that we will bring order into our war of independence and make sure we speed up the day that you walk out of those jails as free men and free women, be able to inhabit your homeland and do the things you like to do best. Defend its freedom, its liberty, and its right to exist in this world. I want to thank our IDPs. I want to thank all of you for your sacrifices and bravery, for not having given up on the hope for a free country. I want to thank you for your sacrifices daily and all of those who keep supporting you. Collectively, as a people, we have shown our humanity on perfect strangers and even to enemies whose country have robbed us of our own homeland. And to our people, the greatest people in the world, for your bravery, and despite all the chaos we bring to bear on you, you still believe in the ideals for which our brave warriors laid their lives. You believe in the ideals for which our brave men and women have sacrificed their liberty. Thank you for your bravery on Mondays. Thank you for all what you're going through. The good God that has brought us here will make sure He lessens your pain and give you hope and give us the bravery and strength to speed up the day Cameroon's lifespan in our homeland is terminated. Thank you very much from the depth of our heart, and thank you for all what you have done for our country. And to our valiant soldiers who have been fighting non-stop, there is not a day that you feel tired. There is not a day that the chaos makes you relent. You have no holidays. There is no break. There is no sleep. There is no, I don't want to fight anymore. You have shown, amongst everything, that you are the backbone of our defense. And as I said before, all what you do today, Ambazonia will never forget. All the sacrifices you make. You walk hundreds of miles without food. You go sick, beaten by mosquitoes in jungles without a hospital to go to. You drink dirty water just to quench your thirst, to stay alive, to defend your block. You eat raw cassava to be able to have some carbohydrate and energy to soldier on. You bury your dead and keep fighting. You've been separated from your families. Your life is at risk on a daily basis. What else can a people ever give for some who never say thank you? What else can young men and women who left their homes for this journey, defending every day the right of Ambazonia to be free? What else can you give? I say thank you on behalf of all Ambazonians. Your names, each and every one of you, will be remembered by all of us. We will memorize your names. We will pronounce them. You are our greatest heroes, and you will remain the foundation of the defense of our freedom. Thank you, soldiers of our War of Independence. In a few days' time, Cameroon plans to organize elections in the country of Kovale Kenya, the country of Great General Ivo, the country of Great General Efa. Mr. Biya and Cameroon plans to seek your consent in the legitimization of a rule that has never benefited you. Fellow people, for more than 50 years, your vote has never counted. For more than 50 years, an occupying regime has come into our homeland through coercion, bribery, has sought your mandate, a mandate which they have used to rape our women, turn our fathers into boys, kill our young men, and make a mockery of our own society. Every year, they have organized a political charade using enablers from our own homeland to give a sense of normalcy, to give a perception to the international system that we have given them a mandate to govern us. They have coerced our old mothers and fathers in villages to sing and dance for them. What we have received in return are shortened lifespans, dilapidated hospitals, no roads, no possibility of hope, children killed, girls raped, boys tortured, families totally scattered. Every time they organize elections in our country, on the 11th of October, 1992, they organized a presidential election, which Mr. John Frundi won. Because he's an Ambazonian, his victory was robbed. Because they vowed slaves could never rule over masters. We fought on every street in our homeland to defend that victory. It was taken away from us. A few years later, they organized municipal and parliamentary elections, which, as usual, they have used to legitimize their rule in our homeland. They've used it as a way of appointing governors in the country of our own birth. In councils where you could have victory, they appointed government delegates. In places where you had mayors, those were the real mayors, appointees of the executive of the occupying regime. Every year, they've bought bags of rice, bags of beans and cows to divide to you, as though what you live for was simply to have rice from an occupying power. They've coerced Ambazonians like the Mbandams, chief enablers, and all the others who've misrepresented Ambazonia to legislate, to make laws and rules that are used as instruments of impunity in our country for more than 58 years. When you have had the chance to cast a ballot, it has never counted. Most of the times, you've never had the chance to even have a voter's card. You've never had the chance to have your name in the voters' registration list. They have used you as guinea pigs. They've held executive power, legislative power. They've appointed senators. They've appointed governors. They've appointed SDOs over you. They've made rules that are never respected. When we declared our independence, what we sent as a message to all those governors appointed over us, that we have become governors of our own country, that we have become masters of our own destiny, that only a government in Boya will have the authority to organize elections in our country to choose our own governors who would exploit our resources to use to develop our societies, who we can hold accountable in the next election. When our independence was declared, our forebears realized only when we are free to design our own political system, the kind of legislature, the kind of executive power, only then should an election be organized that will give you, the people, the power to choose those that are going to oversee your lives. No foreign power should be given the opportunity to organize an election in our country. And that's why I'm also sending a powerful message to all those countries and international institutions that are sending observers within our homeland. You are not welcome. You have been observing political manipulations for the past 57 years. The same result all the time. You should be ashamed of yourself not to condemn such an electoral charade organized by one man time and again to legitimize his rule of impunity, not only over our people, but over his own people. What is the essence of democracy? What is the essence of the right to vote, free speech, assembly, if the same Western powers who stand as harbingers of these virtues cannot stand up and reject it outrightly and help us establish a political space within which such values can be upheld, protected, and promoted? Elections are banned in Ambazonia until we are going to have a political system that can imbue confidence in our people, that can organize a free and fair election where the consent of the people will become instruments for the formulation of policies. In a few days' time, they want to deceive the international system that everything is okay, that their barbarism will continue, that they'll finally conquer you. They've trained more soldiers. They've gotten more tanks. They've deployed them on our street. They're carrying enablers who are standing for these elections in armored personnel carriers, dropping them like soldiers behind enemy lines as the face of the devil in our country. We will not allow this to happen. In a few days' time, they want to come on our streets, walk on the blood of those they have murdered, on the dignity of our IDPs languishing in the jungles. They want to walk on the streets that they've burnt to promote the organization of a facade, to give the international system a pause. My people, we organized free and fair elections before. Not under Cameroon. When we were free people, there was an election, the first free and fair election in the continent of Africa, that saw a sitting prime minister concede defeat to an opposition leader. Peaceful transition of power. That was an election that counted. That was an election where your vote made a difference. Only when that space will be created again should any authority have the mandate from us to organize an election in our country. So in the coming days, I want all of us, to do the right thing. What we have done before, shutting them down. We have called for a lockdown of our country from the 7th of February to the 12th of February. During these days, Ambazonians, you have to develop a spirit of defiance. It's not enough to stay home. It's not enough to shut down the country and close your doors. All the men, the boys, the women, the girls of fighting age, make sure you block the entire country. Make sure you impede free movement of agents of provocation, terrorist murderers within our country. Bring down the trees, block the roads. Everybody must become a soldier. This is critical. How we fare during these days will send a message to the world whether we are ready to continue this battle until the last soldier of Cameroon is out, or we acquiesce to the inevitable and walk back on dead bodies to the place where we all started, that of impunity, hatred, and killings. During these days, my people, all the soldiers, from Fako to Manyu, Kope Maniguba, Donga Mantu, Momo, Mezam, Fako, you have to defend your block. You have to make sure all those who are standing for elections are arrested. You have to make sure all those who have been bribed to violate the laws of our country to take part in the process of legitimation are arrested. No one should be given the chance to violate our laws. No one should be given the chance to promote the policies of a country that has killed our people. No one should be given the opportunity to legitimize a political fraud within Ambazonia that gives Mr. B a sense of entitlement over us. My fellow countrymen and women, this period of lockdown is very decisive. I call upon all of you to keep your differences aside and work like a people whose destiny is threatened. All of the soldiers on GZ, it is for your interest to collaborate, to back each other up, to make sure you can shore up the strength of places that are weak. Then you can provide support to places that don't have. It is through this network of collaboration in resistance that we undermine the ability of Cameroon to inflict pain on our civilian population. In those places where you are threatened, like we saw in Yoke, you have to take out the threat. Don't attack any sister force. But if your life is threatened, you have to defend yourself. At this stage of our war of independence, there are thousands of people who joined this struggle thinking it was a walk in the park. They joined this struggle thinking it was simply going to end tomorrow. And we must have replaced the governors of Cameroon with the governors of Ambazonia. That they were simply going to use their connections, the power of propaganda, the power of manipulation to become the next masters of our destiny. They never developed a national liberation plan, one that gives you a clear-cut idea where they are coming from and where they are going to and how they intend to get there. Nobody has presented to you a clear-cut vision of the kind of Ambazonia that they want to give to our people. They've attributed to themselves a sense of entitlement, and they are willing to go every mile to disrupt this revolution. They are willing to create chaos. All those who had power before will somehow lost the power, have become agents of chaos. They are making audios on a daily basis. That has become their own job. As Dr. G said, instead of making audios and exposing the barbarism on our people, instead of making audios and educating our people and supporting our IDPs and our refugees, they are aggrieved of having lost power. And so they think if they can govern us, we should not be free. Every revolution have these kind of people. That is why I ask you to be focused. Not that you should close your ears and eyes to these agents of chaos, but that you should not allow them to dictate how you function. Let's look at what happened in Bui. In the past months, you've worked so hard. You've worked so hard. You've flown from different places. You've become Bayam Selams, marketing pins, a symbol of our nation, a symbol of our resistance. You ask every Ambazonian to carry theirs close to their heart as a reminder of the suffering of our people, as a reminder of those who have gone before us, that we honor them. You have worked so hard from Johannesburg to Cape Town, Washington, Minnesota, Brussels, Berlin, Oldenburg, Dublin, London, South Korea, Australia, Japan, Canada. We mobilize our people. Give them a sense of hope again. Give them a sense of direction. We told them it was possible, that our own war of independence is a grassroots affair. That if each and every one of us becomes an investor in our own liberation, we are bound to own the outcome. You were convinced. You contributed. Women put $2,500. Families that prayed for me put $1,500. People who attended a conference in Washington made huge donations. Someone gave $15,000 for a pin to buy his freedom, to invest in his own liberation. You created a wave that gripped everyone. It inspired our people on the ground. It gave our prisoners hope. It told our IDPs we are going home soon. It frightened the spoilers. As La République paraded our streets, demonstrated its military might, we also paraded our street to show we are the landlords, that we are the owners of our country. Now, this is what you must know. A national liberation struggle is a matter of strategic reasoning. You must be strategic in your mindset. It's not getting up every morning and you're thinking about independence. There is no sleep. You must think far ahead. You must anticipate. You must demonstrate optical strength. You must demonstrate optical organization. You must show you are in charge. And that's what we do. When we say Amfako, it's not because we are not thinking of Meme. It's not because we don't know there is Yoke. Or it's not because we've forgotten about Malende. The axis between Mutengene up to mile 17, going through Munya, Ekona, Moyoka, and these places are optical places of resistance. You can succeed in Yoke, and you fail in that axis, you have failed. When we ask you to arm Fako, my people, there is a strategic reasoning behind this call. You can't simply fight in a suburb in Mezam or fighting somewhere in Menka and you think you're simply going to get up one day and Cameroon is out. No, we have divided the territory into 5 zones. I will not tell you the zones, but we have divided the territory in 5 tactical zones. These tactical zones are critical zones for optical sense of ownership. When our soldiers parade the street, it's not to show off. It's not because as others think, oh, we are doing guerrilla warfare so you can show your face. When we fight in 13 states, it's not because we can't fight like the Eritreans did, take over an area, hold it, and make it a battlefield where we fight and advance. Our back is not protected. We don't have the kind of support the Eritreans had. And so we must spread the enemy team and decide on 5 tactical zones where there are zones of the demonstration of strength and optical sense of ownership. You know, you get up every day. And when I say arm your people, buy guns, and you may think, oh, he wants guns because he wants to become the most powerful force on the ground. He wants to use that to determine the political future of our country. My people, that is why I'm your leader. This is what you should know. This is a difficult job. Not physically. To lead the people, you must have the ability. You must have the ability to know when to speak, when to shut up. You must be the vision bearer, the strategic thinker, the shock absorber, and the one that gives a sense of direction. If you don't have it, you don't have it. If you see the level of attack on my person, do you think anybody can survive that? Have you asked yourself how I survive it? The God who mounted me together prepared me for this. The reason why I admired Mandela, when you look at all other revolutionary leaders, You think about Malcolm X, you think about people like the Guevaras, the Castros. There was something unique about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela had something that most revolutionary leaders lack. He had tenacity. He had willpower. You could not break Nelson Mandela's willpower. Even in times of uncertainty, Mandela did not blink. He might have compromised. He might have made certain decisions that radicals did not like. Mandela did not blink. Let me tell you something. Get 3 Mandelas put together. You get my tenacity. I want to assure you, all Ambazonians put together cannot break my will. They can't. It is not in here, it's a spirit. So I know you feel bad when I'm attacked. And sometimes they think they're trying to destroy me. Sometimes they think, they are making people to dislike me. What they don't know is that they are giving me unnecessary publicity. Because I'm anchored on the foundation of truth. Even if you hate me and you propagate falsehood, with time, people will study me. People will know the name and study and find out the truth. How do you think the probably 1.69 Mancon guy from Alabukam has become, the center of everything hateful? They are scared. I'm not scared of them. They are scared. Anytime they see us make a move, they're worried that freedom will come without them and they will forever be shamed. La Republique has joined them. They don't know. They're getting up every morning. La Republique is doing their bidding, trying to destroy your leader. They can't. They can't. We will destroy them. All those who've made a career, who've made a lifestyle in undermining the spirit of our resistance, they should think about the godfathers of blackmail. You know the godfather of blackmail in this revolution? The one who built the foundation of hate, propagation of falsehood. You hear their names today? Relegated in the history books. We shall prevail, my people. Not because we are better, but because our activities are anchored on the foundation of truth. I don't get up any morning and thinking evil about even Field Marshal in Lebialen. I wish him well. I don't get up any morning and I'm thinking evil about General Arke. I'm praying for him. Because if his own block is exposed, other blocks will be exposed. I never for 1 second got up some morning and I'm thinking evil against anybody. Not even the masters of hate sitting there in the United States. I don't have the space to think evil, to cultivate hate. I've never been a tribalist. I believe in the goodness in the human nature. I believe that the good in us is going to triumph over evil. I know some of you may think that's naive. But I believe very strongly, and I've witnessed it in our war of independence. Haters of yesterday's become defenders of today and bulldozers of the future. But we must reject all those people who think if they cannot have their way, everyone has to die, who are going to propagate falsehood, ask the point blank execution of one of our finest soldiers in Bui, instrumentalize soldiers to kill their own. Let me send this chilling warning to you. I mean, to you, all the commanders on the ground. Take note. You turn your gun on your own, you will be held responsible as an individual. Any commander who orders the killing of others, soldiers, the disruption of our war of independence, you will pay a personal price. You can listen to all those who ask you to hate. You can listen to propagators of tribalism. You can listen to all those spewing shit around, trying to denigrate the Ambazonian Defense Forces. They are unrivaled. The Ambazonian Defense Forces is unrivaled. Let me tell you this. You've attacked the Ambazonian Defense Forces. You've tried to put doubt in the minds of our people whom they defend. You've tried to tag them as enemies. You have tried desperately to associate them with enablers and the evildoers of our revolution. The Ambazonian Defense Forces were trained in Dadi. All of the commanders, including Chacha, they were soldiers of the army of our country. All of them. You can't defeat them in battle. You use cheap blackmail. You can show policies that can liberate our people. You use cheap blackmail. You can't produce a national liberation plan that can take us from point A to point B. You use the propaganda of hate. The Ambazonian Defense Forces is the army of our state. It's unbeatable. It's unbeatable. Try it and there will be consequences. I provide support to other sister forces. Because when we develop the block by block strategy, we give space for everyone within your block to rise up, put yourself together, either under a defense group or just defending your block as ordinary citizens of that place. From the 7 katas to the salt of Ambazonia, we have provided support to the British Southern Cameroon resistant forces, to other forces, including Sokadef, including the Red Dragons. We have provided support because it is for our own strategic interest. They don't need to support us, but they need to defend their bloc. That is the strategic orientation that every leader should have. Every leader who lacks the strategic big picture of how we are going to liberate our homeland is lost in the wilderness. This is not for you. The Ambazonian Defense Forces have been fighting across all the 13 states. It's not because we want to be in Fako. It's not because we want to fight in Manu. We are not quite active in Boyo because Boyo is well defended. There are sister forces in that area that we're confident can do the job. We are not as active in Bafut because we're confident that the 7 Qatas and others are doing the job there. where we find weakness that undermines the strategic orientation of our defense plan, of our liberation plan, we are bound to defend that block. Look at Fako. That's a place that we had built. Look at Meme. That's the state we had built. And they conspired and killed General Ivo. It's weakening our forces there. And if you cannot defend Fako, Meme becomes exposed. We are not interested in staying in Bechati. When General Ivo and his forces went and destroyed the two bases in Bechati, it was not simply because we wanted to fight in Bechati. It's because it's a strategic junction into Manyu and Momo. And if you cannot defend that strategic junction, you expose stronger core forces in different areas. And anytime they've instituted tribalism and we have abandoned those places, they are incapable of defending it because they've built a political structure rather than a defense structure. They've built a political system of the distribution of power to different persons rather than to give our soldiers the weapons that they need to defend their bloc. And so you ask yourself, why are we fighting in Bui? We started the fight in Bui. We built Bui. Otherwise, we could drop out of Bui and leave other forces to defend it. We built it. And you can see all the time, our soldiers are active. Our soldiers understand the plan. They know they have to disrupt the enemy time and again. That's why Kapo has always been fighting. That's why Ebube has been fighting. That's why Hassan has always been fighting. They understand the plan. We are not sitting and declaring ourselves field marshals and kings and queens. We aren't. We are war veterans, soldiers of the revolution. We fight on a daily basis. Because any lure in the fighting, if you allow the enemy to undermine you in Kumbo, you weaken your own forces in other places. So on a daily basis, our forces in Mezam are fighting, backing up each other. Our forces in Momo are fighting. In Fako, they are fighting. That is the only way you keep the enemy on the run. That is the only way you have a claim over the entire territory of Ambazonia. Strategic reasoning, national liberation plan, leadership that inspires the people is the cornerstone of any successful liberation process. My fellow countrymen and women, are enjoying our forces on the ground to work together. Don't turn your gun on each other. You will lose your life. I can assure you, you will lose your life. You cannot fight alone. You cannot defend Ambazonia alone. In that space, there is a place for everyone. Defend your own space. Work together as you've been doing in the Ground Zero Defense Council. Consult with each other. Support each other. And any force on the ground that believes in this cardinal principle, you will get my support. Financial support, material support. Every force that is defending its bloc, I will mobilize Ambazonians to provide you the support. I want to thank all the other leaders. I had a meeting with a couple of leaders of Mezam the other day. I was very happy. They've not been supporters of the AGOFC or the ADF, but they've been doing their own work. And we plan to work together to collaborate to defend Mezam. And I can assure you, going forward, we will build that network. I call on all the bloggers, Baramak and the others, Eric, Tato, their cousins, Diale, Raymond, Mala, the colonel. I call on all of you to align behind this national liberation strategy. Look, we are going to divide this thing in 3 phases. The liberation phase, the transition phase, and the phase of governance. As far as the national liberation phase is concerned, I'm going to lead it. I, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, will be leading you people during the liberation phase. I call on all Ambazonians to provide their support to all the forces that work together, all the forces that are defending and upholding their code of conduct. Look, I have respect for everyone who speaks for Ambazonia. I have respect for every other leader for their contribution. And I'm not here to make judgment or pass judgment on anyone. My people, there are times I have sat and I pray to God that one leader emerges with a national liberation plan to take us forward, for me to sit back and give space. I have watched in the past 3 years. I'm talking specifically in the face of liberation. Who is it that you will go to sleep, close your eyes, and sleep quietly and be confident that they will be defending you while you are asleep? Who is it that you trust will not blink in the face of adversity? That is a judgment call you have to make. In the face of transition, which will be when we have effectively moved Cameroon out, that phase of transition needs governance. And all of those who are interested in governance can lead that phase of transition. We can all then agree on who to lead that period of transition. Could be 1 year, could be 2 years, depending on the circumstances. And the phase of governance, only the Ambazonian people will have the right to elect their parliamentarians who intend to elect their prime minister. And based on the structure of the political system that we've put in place, elect the president. And so we have to make this distinction. We have to make this distinction, whether we are in a period of liberation or in a period of governance. You can't confuse yourself about these periods. And as far as effectiveness is concerned, strategic reasoning is concerned, a plan of our national liberation is concerned, most of these people fall far short. And they are not confident. And that's why you see they are jittery, they are desperate, they are attacking. Any leader who is confident in their strategy, in their plan, in themselves, maintain their lane. We have great leaders who are not even leading any organization. We have great people who speak for Ambazonia without holding positions of leadership. We have strategic thinkers. There are many people you don't know their faces. That are the reason why sometimes I conduct myself with utmost integrity. And you may give me praises all the time that I make the right decisions. We have unsung heroes, strategic thinkers. People who sit in policy rooms and decide what policy is important to be developed at this particular moment. People who sit and develop a freedom charter, a freedom manifesto. People who work on a daily basis without you knowing who they are. We have millions of them. Some smarter than myself, more educated than myself. I give them respect, they give me respect. Why do they call me their leader? Why do they elect me as the president of AGOVC? Because they've seen in me the characteristics of someone who can lead them in a period of national liberation. It's not because there are not others. And for these people to congregate all the time to attempt to attack and destroy this leadership, it's a smart way of turning us over to Cameroon. I want you to stand your ground. Don't be shaken, my people. Don't be shaken. They've disrupted us every time we are moving forward. During the last election, they disrupted us. During last October, they tried to disrupt us. But on October 1, 2019, you saw for yourself the organization, the professionalism of the Ambazonian Defense Forces and other sister forces, the British Southern Cameroon Resistance Forces. You saw for yourself the Marines. We are organized. We are determined. We are fighting now on two fronts. We are fighting against Cameroon. We are fighting against tribalists who have been planted within our revolution to create chaos, to give a sense of lack of understanding of the gravity of the situation. You must be prepared to defend the integrity of our war of independence, because lives are at stake. The lives of our people in jail, the lives of our people in the bushes who want to go home. My fellow countrymen and women, I sent out an audio the other day responding to Dr. Sako. I would like to say a few words more on the Swiss process, because they use it time and again as a punching bag. I have said the Swiss process was not properly thought through it. Those who thought about it did not follow standard procedure. Excuse me, as I said to Dr. Sako, he is not to blame. None of us is to blame. The only culprit in the dwindling importance of the Swiss process has been Cameroon. There is absolutely no doubt. Cameroon failed to commit. And those who went to Switzerland were not going there to negotiate with Ayaba. They were going there to talk with Cameroon, and Cameroon was absent. And for us who rejected it, we were very clear. We've been through these things before. We made it absolutely clear that the process must be standardized. It must be multilateral in nature. It must have the assent of a UN resolution, or at least the appointment of a special envoy by one of the big countries or big institutions like the European Union that was supporting it. We put those things because we wanted a credible platform that would be able to oversee the period of negotiation and implementation. That's just the right thing and reasonable thing to do. And I think that the failure of the process has to do with the lack of willingness by the international system to commit and to make the requisite investment that is necessary for such a process to survive. We are working extremely very hard. and to compel Cameroon to sit on the table and negotiate its exit from our homeland. We are making sure that we strengthen our boys on the ground to give them the fighting capabilities to shift the political equilibrium to our favor. So each time when we sit on that table, we speak from a position of strength. And we will go there as a people, not as individuals, not as factions. We will bring our finest brains together to sit, those who understand the issues at bar, who can bat for us. We will bring those relevant leaders who believe in independence, the nationalist movements, to constitute themselves and make sure that they can oversee what these experts are doing. I know there are a couple of initiatives being put out there. We're following them. The vice president is having discussion with a series of people, but we have made it absolutely very clear. Those enablers planted within our revolution. Just imagine that you sit with these loudmouth people talking a lot on TV. Just imagine that you sit with these people in the same room. You plan on attacking a military base. Where do you think that information would end up? Where do you think that information will end up? They call the military on our brave soldiers in Calabar. They ask our warriors to be killed. They've exposed the names of our fighters on the ground. You must make a conscious decision whether you want to work together with people who are going to the same destination, who believe in the same outcome, or you simply want to assemble yourself in a cosmetic process that has not worked. They have assembled themselves time and again. Why has it crumbled if they believe in working together? And so the vice president and the secretary of state, they are following up different international initiatives. We are working very closely with people who mean good, and we will be talking in the coming days with people with great minds who have some initiatives to bring together in some form or shape the national liberation movements that can work together, to advance our struggle. You will always have agents of chaos, agents provocateurs who want to disrupt, the cohesion in our revolution so that they can be seen. Ignore them, fight them, undermine them as we are moving forward. Continuously arm our guys across the territory. And I call upon each and everyone to make more investment into FACO. It's very strategic. As we walk towards the lockdown, we should know the results of the lockdown will inspire us in the next phase of our national resistance campaign against Cameroon. My fellow people, the international community understands that the majority of our people want Cameroon out of our homeland. And I'm very, very certain that they will find a multilateral platform that can bring everyone on the table to negotiate on Cameroon's exit and for the payment of reparations for 57 years of thuggery within our country. And I'm very certain that after all of these tragedies that has befallen us, artificial creation of chaos in our revolution, that we will all emerge stronger as one people to live in a free country with opportunities. We fought for the past 3 years like valiant soldiers. We have made a lot of progress at the international level and at the domestic level. You should know that our national liberation plan remains unchanged. We have humiliated Cameroon time and again in our homeland. We have, through our international effort, caused the Americans to withdraw the special status on trade, suspend military corporations. We've gotten different parliaments to talk about our plight. Sanctions being spoken about in the German parliament and the United Kingdom parliament looking into the historical facts about why the crisis is going on. The international system is showing interest in our war of independence, but we require commitment from them, from the Americans. We require commitment, full commitment to solving the problems and to making sure that you understand the context within which you operate. That there are two peoples, Cameroon and Ambazonia. They are at war, and that need to be brought together on equal footing to be able to talk on how to end the illegal encroachment into our territory. But for all of these things to culminate into success, we must not give up. We must not allow setbacks to define the future. I know you've been very sad in the past weeks on what has happened to, especially supporters of the Ambazonian Governing Council and the Ambazonian Defense Forces. I know you've asked questions, why didn't they shoot? But I want you to think about it this way. Just imagine they opened fire and killed 30 persons. Just imagine what would be in our hands today. We might have emerged with temporal glory and vindication. But just imagine what that would have meant for a war of independence. And as I said, I asked the question too, why didn't you defend yourself? But maybe God is saying something that is showing us something that we aren't seeing. But despite all the attacks on our forces, you are still the strongest, still the most organized, still the most well-armed. How does it come that even though we haven't fired back, even though they've taken the weapons that you worked so hard to give our forces, they are still the best in the field? God is saying something, He's showing us something, and sometimes we should not rush it too far. But that does not take away from these soldiers the right to defend themselves, to protect the materials that they have that are supposed to be used to defend our women and our children. And this philosophy is coded in their code of conduct. They must conduct themselves according to their code of conduct, respecting the 4 Geneva Convention, protecting their own lives in the face of domestic hostility. Fellow Ambazonians, I want to remind you that in the next few days, there will be a lockdown. I enjoin all of our forces to work together to ensure a sweeping success. I call on our population to support our soldiers, to collaborate with our fighters, to provide the intelligence that they need, to take action when it is necessary, to block the roads, to block all of our streets, to ensure that all elements of occupation do not run our streets. We have given exception to ambulances for emergency situations. Those are the only people that will be allowed on our street. As I said from the beginning, General Ivo didn't die in vain. Amigo didn't die in vain. All the warriors that we have lost, Nginyam's life wasn't taken away from him for nothing. Do not allow those who are determined to instill division, to instill chaos in our war of independence, determine the future. You must work extremely very hard on a daily basis, knowing that, as I said in Washington, this is not a walk in the park. Every people who have been freed before have gone through such circumstances. They have developed the ability to overcome them. Every people, whether the Americans or the French, who have resisted tyranny, those who have occupied them, have engineered division, created artificial hatred. Ambazonians, you must rise up against the tribal sentiments that is haunting certain states, especially the state of Momo and the state of Boy. Reject all those people with little minds that instill fear and uncertainty in the body politics of our war of independence. We have not succeeded thus far because we are more powerful than Cameroon. We've succeeded because we've put a national liberation plan that our people have followed to the letter. We've succeeded because of the sacrifices of our people in the diaspora, those in jail, even our IDPs and refugees, our civilian population that on every Monday have respected our ghost town. We have succeeded because we have shown a national consciousness that we are Ambazonians and we are willing to be free. We have succeeded thus far because we have made the requisite investment that is necessary to arm our men and women to defend our villages, the lives of our children, our mothers, and our fathers. And I'm definitely sure, as we said last year, 2020 is a defining year in our war of independence. We must remain focused. We must be strategic. We must understand the strategy of the enemy and undercut them anytime, whether they are using proxies within our war of independence or they are coming full force against us. God bless you all. God bless Ambazonia.